The bandage on her face was small, but to him, it looked like a warning sign written in blood. Hiroshi Takeda, the man whose name could silence an entire district, stopped mid-stride the moment he saw it. The black maid, quiet, disciplined, always trying to make herself invisible, froze when he turned toward her. The air tightened between them as his eyes narrowed. She didn't dare meet his gaze. She simply lowered her head, clutching the tray in her hands a little tighter. She prayed he would keep walking. She prayed he wouldn't ask, but Hiroshi never ignored anything. "What happened to your face?" His voice was low, deep, and dangerous, the kind of voice that made grown men tremble. It's nothing, sir," she whispered. He stepped closer. The other staff watched from a distance, confused and terrified, because the boss never involved himself in maid affairs. Never cared. Never even noticed. But today, he noticed. "Remove it," he said. Her throat tightened. "Sir, it's just a small—" "I said remove it." Her hands trembled as she slowly peeled the bandage away. Underneath, a dark, fresh bruise stained her cheek, a harsh imprint of fingers that had gripped her too hard. A muscle jumped in Hiroshi's jaw. "Who touched you?" he asked again, this time with a coldness that made the maids nearby instinctively step back. "It was nothing." She forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Someone bumped into me on the street this morning. That's all. That bruise is not from a bump." His voice cut through every lie she tried to construct. She stared at the ground. She couldn't tell him. If she did, things would get worse. Much worse. "I fell." She tried again. He exhaled sharply. "You are either protecting someone, or you are afraid. Which one is it?" She said nothing. He stepped even closer, lowering his voice. "Look at me." Slowly she looked up. Her eyes glistened, not with tears, but with the exhaustion of someone who had been fighting a private battle for far too long. And that was the moment something snapped inside him. Without warning, Hiroshi turned around and barked, "Cancel my meeting." His underboss, Kazuo, blinked. "B-boss? The meeting with the Shirogane family? I said cancel it." Kazuo swallowed hard. "Yes, sir." Gasps rippled through the hallway. Canceling a high-level meeting, especially with a dangerous clan, was unheard of. Hiroshi lived by routine, discipline, and absolute control. But the bruise on the maid's face shattered all of that. He faced her again. "Come with me." Her heart thudded in panic. "Sir, I still have chores." "You will follow me, now." The tone allowed no argument. She hesitated only a moment before placing the tray down and walking behind him. As they moved through the hall, whispers followed. The staff exchanged nervous glances. Some covered their mouths. Others stepped back as if witnessing a forbidden scene. Hiroshi led her into his private office, an elegant but intimidating room, filled with dark wood, sharp lines, and silence thick enough to choke a weak man. He closed the door behind her. She stood near the edge of the room, hands clasped tightly in front of her. "Sit." She sat. He paced slowly in front of her, his composure tightening like a bowstring about to snap. "You have worked here for nearly a year," he began. "You never ask for anything, you never complain, you do your job flawlessly. So when I see a bruise on your face, and you lie to me repeatedly, something is very wrong." She swallowed. "Sir, I'm fine, truly. Do not lie to me," he snapped. She flinched. He immediately noticed and softened his tone, but only slightly. "Tell me who did this." "I told you, sir. It was an accident. I don't want to cause trouble." "You are not causing trouble." He leaned closer. "You are hiding it." She held her breath. "Some things are better left alone. Not when they're on your face." She looked away, biting her bottom lip until it almost bled. "Please, don't ask me anything else." He stared at her for a long moment. She thought he would shout again, or demand an answer, or interrogate her. Instead, he walked to his desk, picked up his phone, and spoke into it. "Lock down the estate," he ordered. Her eyes widened. "What?" "No one leaves, and no one enters until I get answers." "But, sir—" "Quiet," he continued. "Pull this morning's security footage, from every camera, every angle. I want every unfamiliar face identified within the hour." She stood abruptly. "Sir, please. People will panic. I promise it was just—" He raised a hand and she stopped speaking instantly. "You think I care about panic?" he said softly. "Someone put their hands on what belongs to me." She stiffened. I belong to no one." His eyes flashed in surprise. Then something like respect. "Perhaps. But while you are under my roof, I decide what happens to you, and I will not tolerate someone touching you without your consent." No one had ever defended her like that. Not once in her life. A tiny part of her wanted to cry, but she didn't. He walked around his desk and stood in front of her again, lowering himself to her eye level. "Tell me who did it," he whispered. She closed her eyes. A flash of memory pierced through her mind, a hand gripping her chin, a voice hissing in her ear, a message whispered with venom. "Tell him. We remember." Her heartbeat quickened. She shook her head. "Please, I can't." He exhaled sharply, frustrated but not angry. "Then I'll find them myself." The door burst open. Kazuo rushed in, panicked. "Boss, we found something." Hiroshi straightened. "What?" Kazuo handed him a tablet. "The cameras caught a man entering through the side gate at dawn. We thought he was a delivery worker at first, but what? He left through the back gate minutes after she arrived for her morning shift." The maid's eyes widened. Hiroshi's grip tightened around the tablet. "Show me." Kazuo pressed play. There it was, a grainy figure slipping through shadows, walking with purpose, disappearing behind the garden shed, the exact spot where she had felt a hand grab her. Her breath stuttered. Hiroshi saw her reaction. "That's him," he said coldly. "Isn't it?" She didn't answer with words. Her silence was all the confirmation he needed. Hiroshi's voice dropped to a whisper colder than death. "Find him." Kazuo nodded. "Alive?" Hiroshi hesitated. Then his gaze shifted back to the bruise on her cheek. "Alive," he said. "I want him to tell me why he touched her." She felt dizzy. Why was the boss reacting like this? Why did he care so much? Why did his eyes burn with a fury she didn't understand? He turned to her once more. "You will stay inside the mansion until I say otherwise. You are not safe out there." "I don't want to be a burden," she murmured. "You're not. But you're not," he repeated fiercely. Her chest tightened. She couldn't speak. For the first time in her life, she felt the terrifying warmth of someone actually caring. Hiroshi stepped closer. "I will handle this. No one will touch you again." She believed him. But she also feared what that meant. Because men like him didn't protect for free. They protected to claim. And as he stared at her, bruised like it was a personal insult, she realized something dangerous. She had just become more than a maid to him. She had become a target, a responsibility, a trigger. And maybe something more. She didn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, the memory of that man's grip resurfaced. The cold fingers digging into her cheek, the whisper of his breath, the promise of danger. She sat on the edge of her small bed, staring at the dim ceiling, replaying Hiroshi's expression over and over again. She had seen him angry before, at his men, at rivals, at business failures. But the look he had given her bruise was different. It was personal. Downstairs, the mansion buzzed with tension. Guards stormed in and out like a silent army, scanning every inch of the estate. Hiroshi's orders were absolute, and no one dared question them. Around midnight, she heard a knock on her door. Not harsh, not aggressive, soft, careful. She hesitated before opening it. Hiroshi stood there, hands behind his back, his expression unreadable. The hallway light framed his face in shadows. "You're awake," he said quietly. She nodded. "Good. Come with me." She hesitated again. "Sir, it's late." "I know," he replied. "But you need to see something." Her body tensed, but she followed him. Her bare feet whispered against the polished floors as they walked down the silent hallway. The mansion felt colder at night, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. He led her into the surveillance room where several of his men were reviewing footage. They stepped aside immediately when Hiroshi entered. On the monitor, the same grainy figure appeared, moving through shadows with disturbing confidence. Hiroshi pointed to the screen. "Watch closely." She did. The man paused for a moment behind the garden shed, right where she had been fixing the laundry line earlier that morning. He stood there, waiting, like he knew exactly where she would be and when. Then the moment appeared, the exact frame where she walked into view. He moved swiftly, too fast for the camera to capture clearly. But she remembered the grip, the words, the coldness. Her hands clenched. Hiroshi watched her, not the screen. "He was targeting you. I know." She forced the words out. "He said something. I didn't want to say it before because it sounded insane." "Say it," Hiroshi demanded. "He said, 'Tell him we remember.'" Silence fell over the room like snow. Kazuo exhaled. "Boss, that's a message from the Kurogane faction." Hiroshi's jaw tightened. "They're supposed to be gone." "Well," Kazuo glanced nervously at the maid. "Apparently not." She looked from one man to another, confused. "Kurogane? Who's that?" Hiroshi didn't speak, not immediately. Instead, he dismissed his men with a flick of his hand. They hurried out, leaving the two of them alone in the cold glow of the monitors. Only then did he speak. "They're a syndicate that should have been wiped out years ago," he said. "They were violent, unpredictable, and obsessed with revenge. They blamed me for the collapse of their empire." She swallowed. "What does that have to do with me?" "I don't know," he admitted honestly. "Yet." A tension filled the air, thick and electric. She felt exposed under his intense gaze. Finally, he spoke again. "But they used you to send me a warning, which means you're now part of something you were never meant to see." She shivered. "I didn't ask for this." "I know," he said softly. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "But I won't let them touch you again." She looked down, her voice barely above a whisper. "You don't have to protect me. I'm just a maid." He lifted her chin gently with his fingers, a touch so unexpected she froze. "You're not just anything," he said. The warmth of his fingertips contrasted sharply with the coldness of the surveillance room. She tried to look away, but his hand held her still. Not forcefully, just enough to make her listen. "You have no family here. You keep to yourself. You never cause trouble. That bruise, it is the first time something has happened to you since you came under my roof." His thumb brushed lightly against her cheek. "I do not tolerate attacks on my people." Her breath caught. He seemed to realize he was touching her and slowly withdrew his hand. The moment left a strange ache behind. Fear, relief, confusion, all tangled together. "Go back to your room," he said quietly. "And lock the door. My men will patrol the hall all night." She nodded and turned to leave, but his voice stopped her. "If you remember anything else, anything at all, tell me." She didn't respond. She just walked out, her heart pounding in painful, uneven rhythms. As she reached her room, she leaned against the door, trying to breathe. Why was this happening? Why was the boss so protective? Why did his touch feel so gentle when his reputation painted him as a monster? She didn't sleep for the rest of the night. Morning came with more tension. The mansion's energy had changed. Guards stood in pairs. Doors were locked. Everyone whispered, glancing over their shoulders like shadows could attack. She walked through the corridors slowly, feeling the weight of every stair. In the kitchen, the other maids were gathered around a pot of boiling water, their voices low. "That girl's trouble," one whispered. "I heard she's involved with the boss." Another snickered. "No way," a third said. "He never looks at the staff." "Well, he looked at her yesterday, and he shut down the whole estate for a bruise. It looked like more than a bruise to him. Maybe she's his secret lover." She froze. They didn't see her yet. "Or maybe," the first maid whispered, "she did something. Something big." That was enough. She stepped inside, and the whole room fell silent. The other maids avoided her gaze, turning their faces away as if she carried disease. She didn't speak to them. She simply picked up a basket of vegetables and turned to leave. But one maid, the bold, sharp-tongued one, spoke up. "So what did you do?" she sneered softly. "What makes you so special that the boss acts like you're some queen?" The question stung. "I did nothing," she said quietly. The maid scoffed. "Then why does he protect you like that?" Before she could respond, a deep voice filled the doorway. "Is there a problem?" Hiroshi stood there. Every maid stiffened like their bones froze. "No, boss," the bold one stammered. His gaze moved to the maid, the one with the bruise. "Come with me." She followed him out, leaving the others trembling behind. As soon as they stepped into the hallway, he spoke without looking at her. "Do not let their words bother you." "That's difficult," she admitted. "I don't care about their opinions," he said, "and neither should you. But it feels like the whole mansion hates me now." He stopped walking and finally turned to her, his expression surprisingly gentle. "They don't hate you," he said. "They fear change, and you represent change." "I didn't ask to be part of anything." "I know." He looked down. "But now you are." They continued walking until they reached the courtyard, where several guards were gathered around an unfamiliar black vehicle. Hiroshi crossed his arms. The man from the footage was identified. Her breath hitched. "You found him?" "Not yet," he corrected. "But we found who sent him." "Who?" He gestured to the man exiting the vehicle, hands bound behind his back. One of the guards shoved him forward. He was tall, rugged, with sharp eyes that scanned her face. Recognizing her instantly, her blood ran cold. "That's him," she whispered. "That's the man who watched me from across the street last week." Hiroshi's eyes sharpened. "You never mentioned that." I didn't think it mattered." He stepped closer, his voice a soft warning. "Everything matters now." The man smirked at them. "So you're protecting her." He spat in Japanese. "Just like we thought." Hiroshi's jaw muscles tightened. "Why her?" "You don't know?" The man laughed. "Even better." The maid's stomach churned. Hiroshi stepped forward slowly, voice low and lethal. "Tell me what you mean." "Oh, you'll find out soon," the man sneered, "when the rest of the message arrives." The guard holding the prisoner shoved him forward again, but the man only laughed harder, his voice echoing through the courtyard with an eerie confidence that sent a chill down her spine. He wasn't afraid. Not of the guards, not of Hiroshi, not of death. And that terrified her. Hiroshi stepped closer, his eyes darkening. "You think this is a game?" The man tilted his head, his smirk widening. "Everything's a game when you know you can't lose." Hiroshi didn't move for a moment. He just stared at the man, reading him, studying every twitch in his face. Then he turned slightly toward Kazuo. "Take him downstairs." Kazuo nodded. 2 guards grabbed the man and began dragging him away. "Oh, she doesn't know, does she?" the prisoner shouted as they pulled him toward the underground bunker. "This is going to be fun. Make sure she's watching when you find out who she really is." Her heart dropped to her stomach. She took an instinctive step back. Hiroshi noticed. "Don't listen to him," he said quietly. "But what does he mean?" she asked, her voice cracking. "Who I really am? I don't know anything." He placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "He's trying to get inside your head. But what if? There is no what if. You're not involved in any of this. Their syndicate is desperate to provoke me. They'll say anything." She tried to breathe normally, but the man's voice replayed in her head like a curse. "You'll find out who she really is." She had lived a simple life, a quiet life. Her past held nothing dangerous, nothing remarkable. So why did she suddenly feel like she was drowning in a truth she didn't understand? Hiroshi seemed to sense her spiraling thoughts. He guided her away from the courtyard and into a quieter corridor, his hand warm on her back. "You should rest," he said. "You didn't sleep last night." "I can't," she whispered. He stopped walking, turning to face her fully. "Look at me." She did. "I won't let anything happen to you," he said firmly. "Not while you're under my protection." "You keep saying that," she murmured. "But it feels like everything is happening because of me." His brows furrowed. "Listen carefully. You did nothing wrong." "But you did nothing. They chose you. They used you. That's on them, not you." She looked down at her hands. "Why me?" "I don't know yet," he admitted. "But I will find out." He looked like a man carrying the weight of a war on his shoulders. Yet his voice softened when he addressed her again. "For now, you're not to be alone. My guards will remain outside your room at all times." "I don't want to burden you." "You're not a burden," he snapped, not out of anger but out of frustration that she didn't understand. "Stop saying that." She blinked, startled. His tone softened. "I'm doing this because I want to." Her chest tightened in a way she didn't expect. She didn't know what to say, so she simply nodded. As they continued walking, they passed by several of the staff. Every pair of eyes followed them, some filled with fear, some with curiosity, some with jealousy. But none of it seemed to matter to Hiroshi. He didn't even glance at them. He brought her to the main sitting room and pointed toward the sofa. "Sit." She obeyed, though her nerves were still buzzing. He poured her tea, something he had never done for anyone except high-ranking guests. Her eyes widened. "You don't have to—" "I said sit," he repeated, placing the cup gently in front of her. "Drink." She wrapped her hands around the warm ceramic, letting the heat calm her shaking fingers. He sat across from her, his eyes fixed on her bruised cheek. "When he grabbed you," Hiroshi said slowly. "What did he say exactly?" Her breath trembled as she answered. "He said, 'Tell him we remember.' And then he said, I should stay close to him, that someone else would come." Hiroshi leaned back, his expression darkening. Someone else? Yes. He said, "This is only the beginning." He closed his eyes for a moment, inhaling deeply. When he opened them again, something in his gaze had hardened. "I need to know everything about your morning yesterday. Every step you took before you arrived." She nodded and began recounting her morning. Waking up, walking, the usual route, passing the small market, the alleyway shortcut she always took, the moment she felt someone behind her, the hand that grabbed her. As she recounted the memory, her voice began to crack. "He held me so tightly I could barely breathe," she whispered, "and he kept saying, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time." Hiroshi's jaw clenched, hard. "He said something else too," she whispered. "Something I didn't tell you before." Hiroshi leaned in. "Tell me." "He said you took something from them, something important, and that they planned to take something from you in return." Silence swallowed the room. He closed his eyes again, slower this time, as if trying to contain a storm inside him. He stood up suddenly. "You're staying in the East Wing. It's the most secure part of the mansion." She blinked. "But that's where you—" "Yes." She felt her breath stop. "You'll stay there until this ends," Hiroshi said. "Why?" she whispered. "Because I trust myself more than I trust anyone else," he replied. Her pulse raced. Before she could respond, Kazuo rushed into the room, breathless. "Boss," he said urgently. "You need to come downstairs, immediately." Hiroshi straightened. "What happened?" Kazuo's voice dropped. "The prisoner. He said something else." "What?" Kazuo looked at the maid before answering. "He said she isn't the message." She stiffened. Kazuo continued. "He said she's the leverage." Hiroshi narrowed his eyes. "What leverage?" Kazuo swallowed. "He said she's connected to someone important to their clan." Her heart pounded so loudly she thought the men could hear it. "That's impossible," she whispered. "I don't know anyone." But Kazuo wasn't finished. "He said," Kazuo repeated slowly, "she has no idea whose daughter she is." Everything inside her froze. Hiroshi turned to her, eyes wide for the first time since she'd known him. "Your daughter?" he echoed under his breath. Her hands trembled violently. "I don't understand," she whispered. "My parents died when I was young. I have no ties to anyone. This doesn't make sense. This can't be real." Hiroshi stepped closer, gently taking her shaking hands. "Breathe," he said softly. But she couldn't. Her world was unraveling, and every piece hurt. Kazuo continued. "Boss, the prisoner said that her father wasn't who she thinks." "What does that mean?" she cried, her voice cracking. Kazuo's eyes softened with pity. "He said your father was part of their syndicate." Her knees buckled, and she almost collapsed before Hiroshi caught her. I'm nothing like them. I don't even know him." "I know," Hiroshi whispered, holding her steady. "I know. It's not your fault." Her chest heaved in panic. "Why is this happening? To me?" she cried. His hands tightened around her arms, grounding her. "Because someone wants to use you against me," he said calmly. "But they made one mistake." She looked up, trembling. "What mistake?" "They thought I would hand you over," he said. "But I won't." Her breath hitched. "I'm not letting them touch you," he said again, voice fierce and final. "Not now. Not ever." His words should have comforted her, but they felt terrifying too, because when a Mafia boss vows to protect someone with that much intensity, it means war, and she had just become the reason for it. The moment Riku opened his eyes, sunlight leaked through the blinds in thin gold strips. For a second, he felt disoriented, caught between sleep and memory, between the nightmare of last night and the reality of this morning. But then he heard the soft clink of a cup and the gentle shuffle of feet, and everything came back at once. The attack, the snow, the blood, the woman who had stood in front of a gun for him. Amara. She approached the side of the bed carrying a tray of porridge and tea. She wore one of the house's plain gray robes, but somehow she made even that look elegant. The bandage on her cheek was smaller now, but still visible. The bruise beneath peeked through faintly. Riku pushed himself upright despite the tightness in his side. "You shouldn't be up," he said softly. She ignored that. "You haven't eaten. You stayed," he murmured. "Of course," she whispered. "But you scared me. You were fading in and out, I thought—" Her voice caught. "I thought you weren't going to wake up." His gaze held hers. "I woke up because I wasn't done yet." "Done with what?" "Protecting you." Her breath stilled for a moment. "You almost died because of me." "No," he corrected. "I almost died protecting what matters." His hand lifted, trembling slightly, and touched the side of her face, just near the bandage. "They hurt you, and I won't forgive that." Her eyes glistened again. "You can't keep doing this, Riku. You can't bleed for people like me." He brushed his thumb over her cheek, faint, cautious. "People like you? You mean the woman who ran into gunfire for someone she works for? The woman who lied repeatedly just to keep trouble away from me? The woman who faced an entire gang with only fear and willpower?" He took a breath. "Don't insult yourself." She swallowed thickly. "I'm nobody." "You're not," he said. "Not anymore." A soft knock came from the doorway. Kenji entered first, followed by 3 other lieutenants. Their faces were grave, but their posture carried the tension of unresolved business. "Boss," Kenji said, "the intruders. We've identified where they came from. They were from a breakaway syndicate under Ishimura Ren." Riku's jaw tightened. "Ren," he repeated. "Of course." Amara didn't know the name, but she could feel the temperature shift. Riku's men stiffened. Something old and ugly simmered there. Kenji continued. "He's challenging your claim to the Osaka district. Word is he thinks you've become weak, that you're distracted." Riku's gaze flicked briefly toward Amara. Kenji cleared his throat. "And he's using her to send a message." A cold fury settled into Riku's expression. "Then I'll send a message back." Amara's heart thudded uncomfortably. "Riku, no." But he cut her off, voice sharp. "He touched what's mine." The room went still. Her breath caught, her thoughts scrambled, and Kenji stared down at the floor as if pretending he hadn't heard it. "What you mean?" she said quietly. "Is he hurt someone under your protection?" "That's not all I mean," Riku said, eyes burning into hers. Her lips parted, but she found no words. Kenji cleared his throat again. "Boss, Ren is mobilizing. We intercepted communications. He's planning another hit within the next 24 hours. Riku tried to stand. Pain lanced through him, sharp as a blade. Amara dropped the tray and caught his arm. "You're not healed," she protested. "I don't need to be healed to end a problem." Kenji stepped forward. "Boss, let us handle it. You can't go into a confrontation like this." Riku's voice dropped dangerously low. "Ren sent men to kill me in my own home. He put a bruise on her face. And now he thinks I'm weak?" His fists shook. "I will not hide behind my men." Amara tightened her grip on him. "And if he kills you, then what?" Riku met her eyes. Something softened, only a fraction, but enough for her to see he was listening. She took a shaky breath. You're angry. You're hurt. You're not thinking clearly. Ren wants you reckless. He wants you emotional. Don't give him what he wants. Kenji nodded. She's right, boss. We should plan. Strategize. You move only when we have the upper hand. Riku hesitated. His chest rose and fell in deep, steady breaths. Finally, he exhaled. Fine. Bring me everything we know about Ren. Every move he's made. Every weakness. Every traitor he's recruited. Kenji bowed. Right away. As the men left, Riku's knees buckled. Amara gasped and supported him again. He sank onto the bed, jaw clenched in humiliation. I can't even stand properly, he muttered. Amara knelt in front of him. Strength isn't about ignoring wounds, she whispered. It's about choosing wisely, when to fight. Riku stared down at her. You're stubborn. Someone has to be, she murmured. A tiny reluctant smile tugged at his lips. You could have died last night. So could you. Why did you run toward the gun? His voice was barely a whisper. Why not away? She looked down at her hands. Because I didn't want you to die. He lifted her chin with trembling fingers. You matter more than you think. Her chest tightened painfully. Every instinct told her to pull away, to retreat behind professionalism and distance. But something in his eyes, raw, unguarded, held her frozen in place. He leaned forward slightly, breath mingling with hers. If something happened to you because of me... Amara placed her hand over his. Nothing happened to me. I'm here. I'm alive. But hurting. It'll heal. He brushed the bandage again. It shouldn't have happened at all. They stayed like that for a long moment, the silence stretching warm and fragile between them. Then Riku pulled back, composing himself. Stay where I can see you, he said quietly. At least until Ren is dealt with. She swallowed. Are you ordering me? I'm asking, he said. It was the first request he had ever made of her, and for reasons she did not fully understand, she nodded. Later that night, the house fell into an uneasy quiet. Guards doubled, lights dimmed, a storm rolled in, thunder rumbling distantly. Riku sat in his home office surrounded by maps, files, and surveillance reports. Amara had been instructed to stay in the adjacent room, close enough for him to hear if anything went wrong. But she couldn't sleep. Her mind replayed everything. The attack, the blood, Riku collapsing in her arms, the darkness closing in around them. She stepped into the hallway quietly, intending only to check that the guards were still at their posts. Instead, she heard voices, urgent, low. She moved closer. Kenji. Boss, you can't do this alone. Riku. He wants a war. I'll give him one. Kenji. Not tonight. You're still bleeding internally. Riku. Ren is counting on hesitation. I won't give him time. Kenji. Then at least take backup. Riku. That will slow me down. Kenji's voice rose. Slow you down? Boss, he's not playing games. Ren doesn't want territory. He wants your head. Amara's pulse quickened. Riku said. And he'll get his chance tonight. Her breath caught. She stepped forward. Riku, no. Both men turned. Riku's expression hardened. You shouldn't be awake. I heard you, she said, voice trembling but steady. You're planning to go after him alone. That's suicide. It's necessary. It's not, she shot back. You're hurt. You're exhausted. You're not thinking straight. Kenji looked between them, clearly torn. Amara moved closer until she stood directly in front of Riku. If you walk out that door tonight, you won't come back. Riku stared down at her. He hurt you. And you protected me, she said. That's enough. Please, don't throw your life away because of me. His jaw flexed. His breath shook. For the first time in years, Uncertainty flickered across his face. She touched his hand gently. "Stay, just tonight. Plan properly. Win smart, not desperate." Kenji added quietly, "Boss, this is the best choice." Silence. A long, suffocating silence. Finally, Riku exhaled. "One night, but only one." Amara closed her eyes in relief. Kenji left to reposition the guards. Riku turned fully toward her. "You're the only person who can talk to me like that," he murmured. She gave a small, tired smile. "Maybe because I'm not afraid of you. Maybe because you should be," he said softly, stepping closer. I'm not." "And why is that?" She met his gaze without wavering. "Because you'd never hurt me." His breath hitched, barely detectable. Then he took her hand, slowly, as if giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. They stood there in the dim hall, thunder cracking in the distance, the air between them charged with something dangerous and tender. Riku lifted her hand to his lips and pressed a slow kiss against her knuckles. "Rest," he whispered. "Tomorrow, everything changes." Her heart stumbled. "Promise me you'll be careful." His voice dropped. "Only if you promise to be here when I return." "I will." "Good." And then, softer, almost impossibly soft. "You're the first person I've ever wanted to return to." Her breath trembled. "Riku." "Go," he said gently. "Before I do something reckless." She turned slowly and walked back toward her room, every step heavy, electric. She didn't look back, but she felt his gaze following her until she disappeared behind the door. The storm outside cracked loudly, rattling the windows. Tomorrow would bring chaos, danger, and blood. Ren would be dealt with. Alliances would shift. A new war might begin. But whatever happened next, their fates were now tied. By a bruise, by a bandage, by a single moment that changed everything. And as the screen fades, viewers feel the pull of the story. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, drop a comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Your support helps the channel grow and keeps us creating the best content for you.